Mr. Bhargava, thanks very much for taking out the time and speaking with us. We really appreciate you joining us for clarifications. There have been news reports that some institutional investors have written a letter to you for the Gujarat plant issue. What are the concerns that they have expressed?
No, the fundamental concern of the investors is they think this arrangement will be financially harmful to Maruti and its investors. That's the bottom line. Now, the fact is that the board took this decision, and as was clarified by Mr. Suzuki after the board meeting, the board took this decision with the intention of creating a win-win situation for all the parties to the transaction, which means Maruti, Suzuki, Maruti shareholders.
So, Mr. Bhargava, despite a clarification via press release, the shares dropped 5% last week. Do you think there are some issues that are still to be addressed?
I'm not sure what issue really needs to be addressed because, as I said a little while earlier outside, that there has to be a certain element of trust in what people say and what they say they will do. If people do not believe that we are trying to create a win-win situation, then you can always find arguments and ways of showing that this will not do so. For example, if you project that the growth of the market going forward will be 15% a year and project the growth of the units in Gujarat on the basis of 15% growth of total Maruti capacities, you will get a very different picture from what you would get if the growth was at a lower figure of 5 or 6 or 8%. Now, who is to decide what is the growth going forward in Gujarat? We don't look at a situation where capex is not required in Gujarat, in which case the cars will be available actually at cost. We don't look at a situation what would happen if Maruti had invested, as we have done here, and there is no demand and capacity lies idle, as has been happening for the last 3 years. That doesn't, what is that risk and how does it harm us? That is not taken into account. So there are many factors which are not considered, and I'm not sure how people come up with these figures. They want us to quantify what will be the amount of equity which Suzuki will bring in and what will be the markup on the cars which they will give to us. It can't be done. It depends on how many units are running, what is the time over which investments have to be made, what is the depreciation amount which has been accumulated. Until you know all those amounts, how to quantify?
Sure, Mr. Bhargava, but investors still believe that it will be best that Maruti manages the Gujarat plant versus Suzuki, which will lead to lower earnings volatility and mitigate transfer pricing issues as well. Are you open to this in order to satisfy the concerns of the minority and institutional investors?
Not at all. Why should we manage it when somebody else is managing it with his money and not taking away money from India to Japan despite the investment made here? As Mr. Suzuki said, their intention is to take benefit of this investment through Maruti. The profits will be made in Maruti, the sales of Maruti will go up, and out of that Suzuki will take 56%. That's the benefit they will get.
Do you think, Mr. Bhargava, that with the auto duty cut for auto sales for the coming months will be upwards of 1 lakh units for you as a company?
I don't know what the next few months will bring in terms of sales. At the moment, yes, we are doing 1 lakh of cars a month. But the market in the last few months has certainly not shown any kind of steadiness or reliability in terms of pickup and demand.
Right. Coming down to your export sales, they have declined in the month of Feb. Do you think that export market demand is expected to remain subdued going forward?
Target for exports this year was about 120,000. I think there is some weakness in the market abroad, and we may not get to 120,000. We will be less, maybe around 110 or so.
Right. And just finally, before we wrap up, we understand you have to leave, but there have been reports that Suzuki will enter the trucks market in India from 2015. Now, will that business be done via Maruti?
No, that plan remains exactly as it was. There's no change in that plan.